up, everybody, and welcome to Season 3 of the All-NBA Show, powered by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet at FanDuel.com/All-NBA. I'm your host, Adam Mares, and I'm joined by my esteemed colleague, Tim Legler, the host of this show. You hear him on the broadcast doing the color commentary. And then now, the star of my favorite piece of content over the last month, the Coach's Corner, which if you haven't checked out, you see it all over social media and NBA TV. Legs, how you doing?
I'm good, man. I love the intro when you said beginning Season 3. It's pretty cool, man. Pretty cool. This is because it really wasn't the beginning of Season 3 until we had actual games, not the hypothetical.
So true.
Now we're into real games, real content that matters. So let's get into it, man. Great opening night.
Yeah, it really was a great opening night, man. And real quick, just about this Coach's Corner that you've been doing, you teased it in the summer for the people that were with us in the off season, but these have been really cool to watch. You breaking down film with the coaches. I'm waiting for the Nuggets one to drop. I'm guessing it won't drop till Thursday because they kind of have been lining up like as teams are playing or in the news. But these have been really cool. You teased them, and now that I get to see them, it's been great conversations.
Absolutely love the opportunity. And I want to offer people a couple of things like insights on this. So I sat down with almost every coach. I think there was a couple that we didn't get to in the Chicago coaches meetings. That's where they took place. I was out there for a couple of days, lined them up one after another. I spent like 15 minutes with each guy. There was about 10, 12 minutes of conversation leading up to the film work of, their team last year, their team this year, their own journey, who influenced the way they believe in coaching and teaching the game. Those were fascinating. And the longer form of what you've seen on social media, which has been like 2.5-minute film work clips, which I mean, great. And people seem to love it. And I'm really happy that they do, because I loved doing it. Those interviews with those guys, though, they're putting those in longer form on NBA TV. If you just keep kind of checking it out, they're going to put 3-4 guys together at a time and lump them into one longer show where you get all of that content. So it's going to be fun. And one other thing I want to tell you, the plays that we got were plays they sent in. So, and next year, if I'm lucky enough to do it again, I might ask those guys, can I find the 2 or 3 plays that I would like to talk about with their team? Because some of them are more detailed. Like Steve Kerr's was great, talking about the 5 out and the guard split action with Curry was so interesting. And some other ones were like really, really basic stuff that they sent. Like there wasn't a lot for me to dive into. So it's going to evolve. But here's what I do know. All of those guys were engaging. They for the most part, really wanted to be in there. The conversations were great. And it gave me some familiarity with some guys I didn't know as well because they're new and younger going into the season, man, which is a good thing that we had a chance to really sit down and talk. So, yeah, they've been great. Check them out. ESPN, NBA on ESPN has been putting them out. The league's been putting them out. They're on NBA TV, so it's been great.
Well, you're everywhere right now, and I love it, man. Articles being written. Obviously, the broadcast getting ready to fire up tonight. We love it, man. We love to see it. But this is the only place we get you for an hour, uninterrupted, going deep into the details, breaking down the games. And thank God we finally are back, and we have some games to break down. 2 pretty good ones, one phenomenal one that was interesting enough, and we're going to break both of them down. But our FanDuel game breakdown of the night is going to have to be the Thunder versus the Rockets, the very first game of the season, double overtime, 125-124. The Thunder come back late, and then it was just a back and forth game in the fourth quarter and overtimes. They grabbed the win against Houston. Houston opened up a pretty good lead at one point in this game. But it was Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's clutch shot making that sealed the deal. What stood out to you about this one?
Well, first, I mean, you talk about absolute worst case scenario for the coaching staffs to go double overtime opening night when you're still trying to get guys into the shape you want them in, your rotation you don't know about. Both these teams had guys missing. So they didn't want to see that, but it was great for us to see that kind of drama at the end of the game. And look, I think for me, a couple things stood out. I thought Oklahoma City was definitely affected, because it's a real thing, by all of the things that went into opening night for them, right? I mean, the long delay kind of affects both teams when you go through the ring ceremony. But then there's an emotional component that is just one team that's bearing the brunt of that, and it was Oklahoma City last night. getting their rings, raising the banner, all of the pictures, even the interviews they did before the game that they normally would never do. And I thought it affected their energy a little bit at the start of the game. And I thought something that Mark Dagnall did at the beginning of the second half was interesting. So they started the two bigs first half.
Yeah.
They put Caruso in there in the second half. And it was obvious why. That is a team that finds their battery pack through their defense. And they put Alex Caruso in there to sort of pick up the pressure, make some plays. Let's get our energy up. And I thought that's exactly how it played out beginning of the half. And then then we ended up with this great game with a lot of really, really, really important possessions over the last 6 minutes of regulation, both overtimes. But I thought OKC was affected a little bit by all of the different environment that they normally face before a game, which is common for home teams when they get the ring. And then I thought Houston, the most interesting thing, and we're going to dive into it, is just like playing without Van Vliet. And there was so much talk about it going into the season. And exactly how did that manifest itself last night? So those to me were the two biggest takeaways. And ultimately, Oklahoma City was able to make plays down the stretch that they needed to make to get a win.
Well, you brought up both points here that I think are kind of core to this, which is number one, Houston goes with their enormous lineup last night, and it looked and felt enormous. I mean, throughout the entire game, because even when they go to the bench with Capella, they have multiple versions now of the double bigs. This is going to be their identity this season. It was a big part of their identity towards the end of last year, the back half of last year, but you could tell it's going to be a core part of their identity this year. But the weakness of it without Fred VanVleet is that you have a bit of a lack of ball handling. And I think that's what the Caruso piece of this means is, okay, if they're going to beat us up in a half court just with their size, they don't have a lot of guys that can bring the ball up against pressure. OKC has so many guys that can pressure, but Caruso is the best at guarding bigs for a small guy at guarding bigs. And Sengun had to bring the ball up a lot. Once you put Caruso on him, that job becomes a lot harder. And then you look around and say, who else can bring the ball up to kind of spell guys? If Amen Thompson's not out there, where are the other options? To me, that was what that adjustment was about as much as anything.
Yeah, and look, they did it by committee. It was, from the starting lineup, it was Amen Thompson initiated, Sengun quite often, Durant brought it up sometimes, and then the only other guy off the bench that really did it was Reed Sheppard. And Reed Sheppard did a decent job advancing the ball up the floor, but he really struggled offensively once they got into their half-court sets, and we'll get into that too. But so they did it sort of by committee, and it was like, okay, they didn't – it wasn't like they were, they were just completely inept offensively running an offense. I mean, they were able to, for the most part, take care of the ball. They got shots, but where you noticed it, Adam, really come into play – were the last 4 or 5 minutes of regulation, trying to protect a lead, both overtimes, some of the key possessions, the lack of quality of being able to break down a defense off of your initial action, which typically in this league involves a lot of ball screen, not having the ability to be that crafty in that to collapse a defense to then get something better out of it in those situations. It became some forced possessions for the Rockets when the game was like on the line. And Oklahoma City didn't take advantage of all of those. And that's why Houston was able to still get it to like a second overtime. But ultimately, I think it really affected them. And if that had been cleaned up, I think Houston wins this game by 10, 12 points last night, because I think OKC was ripe to be beaten last night. The way that they played most of the game. Houston, to me, had just enough of a lack of a motor to their offense in terms of initiation that made possessions a little bit harder for them when the game got tight late. That's where I think you saw it more than any other time in the game.
Well, I agree with you. And there's a lot of really good stuff from Houston. So we're starting with the negative. They lost the game and you almost go to that. But the first thing I want to talk about is you just mentioned that they couldn't get into their stuff in the half court. That was the point of getting Kevin Durant. You add him for that very reason. Only takes one shot in the fourth quarter, 2 in overtime. And to me, that's one of the things that stood out. OKC is not typical in their ability to pressure you and the athleticism and speed they put on the court. So maybe this is just more about OKC and their great defense. But I thought watching that fourth quarter, man, Kevin Durant seems to not be able to kind of save them or get them into a half court offense here. It's still everything else.
I totally agree with you. There were times I was kind of getting a little bit confused by the fact that Durant was spending possessions on the left side of the floor where they were running everything on the right side. And look, Sengun had a night, and Sengun was the guy most capable of beating his matchup. And particularly when they were switching and putting smaller guys on him. It was interesting watching a guy like Caruso, who can guard bigger guys, didn't have much of an effect on Sengun, because where Caruso bothers bigger guys a lot of times is he cuts them off like laterally when they try to just go by him and use their length and explode to the rim. And he beats them to the spot, and they end up being off balance a lot. Sengun is like, this is fine, man. I'll be as methodical as I want to be, and I can just back you and spin, and then I'll turn, and I got this incredibly soft touch. Sort of like what Jokic can do to him. When they had success against Jokic, it was almost like they had three guys on him. Caruso +2, when he got a lot of credit in the postseason for guarding Jokic, but it's like two other guys in his lap. Sengun wasn't really dealing with that, so he took advantage of this situation. But I felt like they got too Sengun dependent when you got Durant out there for longer stretches, not touching it. And I said before the season, Adam, if Durant averages like 30 points a game, I don't think it's a good thing for Houston. I think the 24-ish, 25, somewhere in there, with Sengun taking another leap is where they need to be. But that doesn't mean that you forget about Kevin Durant for long stretches when you're trying to determine the game. So I agree with you. I actually thought they got away from his touches in areas he likes it for long periods of time over the last 16 minutes of playing time of this game. And I think that until Van Vliet comes back, you find yourself in tight games. That's what you brought the guy in there to do. And a two-man game of Durant and Sengun could be absolutely lethal. They did not get into that much at all with the game on the line.
And I think that last point is really what this was about, because Kevin Durant, you still want to get him the ball in spots. And I just didn't, especially when Amen Thompson goes down, and we could talk about that in a little bit, because I thought he was very impressive as well, but throughout the game. But when you can't get him the ball, he's bringing it up. They're bringing pressure and getting the ball out of his hands. And then he just wouldn't get the ball back. And I didn't think he was particularly aggressive in that fourth quarter. Like, I thought there were things he could have done to try to demand the ball or get the ball or get to his spots. But when you don't have a point guard to set the table, it's a lot to ask KD to kind of bring the ball up, try to initiate, and then also get to your spots to finish the play. And the rhythm wasn't quite there for it. And again, Oklahoma City's not typical, but it does. So maybe this is an outlier, but it does point to, okay, that's one weakness in Houston. They don't have a lot of just initiation.
They don't. And I think, look, here's how you're going to sum up Kevin Durant's first night overall, Adam, is he had some real, dicey moments for him. If you look at some of the plays he was involved in later in the game. So he has the play where he gets stripped by Cason Wallace at half court and then fouls him in transition going the other way. He has another play where he dribbles the ball off his foot out in their half court running ball screen, and he has to basically dive into the backcourt to save the ball. He has the timeout that he called clearly that they didn't act like anybody saw that he was calling timeout, or that's a technical foul, and they probably lose the game right there. But look, I didn't want to see the game end that way, but there's no question he was calling timeout, and everybody knows it. Even Sengun was trying to shove the ball back into his chest to say, no, we don't want to timeout. It was kind of funny, but okay, he got away with that. And then, of course, he fouls out of the game. He's not even on the floor for the last possession because he bit on the pump fake by Shea on the one-on-one move. So it wasn't Durant's best night, clearly. He'll have much better nights going forward. But their biggest question in the meantime is going to be, how do you run your offense in close game situations? You brought Durant in to solve a lot of that, but they were also expecting to have Fred VanVleet, who organizes, who sets the table, who gets guys in the right position, who, by the way, if play breaks down and it goes to VanVleet, can run a ball screen on a wing by himself and get something good. And he's made a lot of high pressure shots in his career. So now it's going to be, you don't have VanVleet. So how are you going to close your games? And Durant's got to be more aggressive than he was, I think, in the fourth quarter of this game, or else Houston probably walks out of there with a win.
I've got more notes on Houston, but I kind of want to pivot now to give some conversation to the NBA champions and the team that got the win last night, which is the Thunder. And this is my take. You mentioned like the little bit of a slow start, a little bit of clunky start. What impressed me about the Thunder, well, a handful of things, but one of the things that impressed me about them was how sharp they were defensively, which of course that was their MO last year. But this is game one, legs. I just thought that their defense ability to rotate and execute game plan, especially in the clutch of this game, was like, man, this is the first. There's a lot of teams that are going to play tonight that do not have anywhere near that one possession of the defensive execution that they had basically for 24 minutes to end that game. That's what stood out to me. And then their ability to generate turnovers, 22 turnovers for Houston last night, according to the box score. They just OKC's defense and their connectedness on that end, and even on the offensive end, there were a lot of swing plays there. 4 passes, get dribble penetration, swing, get it all the way around and find the open guy. That their connection, to me, they won it last year, and they look as connected right now on game one as they did on game 82 last year.
Well, think about what continuity means for a basketball team, particularly in modern NBA more than anywhere because of the condensed time that you have. Training camp, they don't go live nearly as much in training camp. You've got a much smaller window to get in what you want to put in as a coach, a head coach, defensively and offensively, have guys run it, have everybody on the court at the same time. That's why you see teams take 10, 12 games at the start of the year to kind of find their continuity with each other, if there's any new pieces at all. So think about what Mark Dagnall is starting with. It's you're just picking up from where you finished the year. So do you imagine how far ahead you are on day one? First time you want to do shell drill, first time you want to do, all right, talk about our half-court defensive calls. It's the same group that did it last year that won a championship. And look at all of the other top teams that we're going to talk about that are trying to contend and win for the most part. New pieces, new guys, new terminology, like trying to figure out rotations, bringing in a new guy that's important that affects another guy and who's on the court with who. So the teaching that's involved at the start is so much more significant. When you have the same guys running it back, your first day of camp, first drill, first time Dagnall blows the whistle and they're going to get into something, he can just say the terminology and they're going to go execute it. So they're light years ahead of most teams to start the season, particularly defensively, which is, to me, the essence of coaching, teaching, and communication. That's where real coaching has to take place in the preseason. They're ahead of the game, man. These guys are running it back with the same group. So that's one of the reasons you looked at them last night and thought, man, these guys are really on a string early in the year, because it's the same group of guys, basically. And then, of course, they didn't have Jalen Williams last night, but everybody else was a big part of that rotation a year ago.
Which is scary, right? It's frightening to think that arguably their second best player was out, and they still get this massive win. There's a handful of guys I want to shout out or talk about, key in on. Cason Wallace is where I'm going to start. 14 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists, 4 steals. This guy is unbelievable defensively. And then here's a unique trait for him that he hit some clutch shots. A unique trait, his ability to dunk. He's not that big of a guy. His ability to dunk at full sprint is really impressive, because some of these steals he gets, he's only got a half step on guys. And I think this is an underrated talent. He doesn't have to load up. Some guys have to like load up their power to go up and dunk. He's at full sprint and is able to somehow get vertical off of a full sprint and finish with a guy contesting from behind. He impressed me so much last night. And that was one of the skills that impressed me, was his ability to kind of finish those plays with a dunk.
Yeah. And look, I think the thing that impresses me the most about him, saw it again last night, very few guys can go top speed laterally and stay active with their hands at the same time. Very few guys can do that. Like, some guys are really quick laterally, but like their hands are back and they're doing everything they can with their hips and shoulders to shift their weight. You're like, man, that guy's really quick. He can cut the ball off and make guys turn. That's a totally different thing than at the same time being hand active with, if that ball's anywhere going to be crossed over in front of him while he's sliding full speed, it's amazing how on balance he is and how his head and shoulders are up and his hands and palms are always up, making plays on the ball. It's an impressive thing, man. It's like kind of what sets him apart. And then on those nights when he's going to chip in 14 points, in a lot of ways for me, his scoring is gravy, because of the way that he can affect the game defensively with his ball pressure and his versatility. But then last night, he also gives you 14 points and played well in transition. To your point, look, they had 28 points that they created off of turnovers. It was a big part of the game. 22 for Houston. Turnovers, 28 points going the other direction. You know, on a team that's got some weapons offensively, man, like Houston, that is just a killer when you don't even get an attempt. And that's what Oklahoma City did. Told me Cason Wallace was leading the charge there.
Another shout out I want to give, and it's our first.
I know.
My guy, shout out.
I knew where this was going.
James lighted up. Ajay Mitchell off the bench, 12 points in the second quarter alone. He finished with 16, 3 of 6, and made some big plays, Legs. I was impressed.
He was great, man. There's no other way around it. And I was watching the games last night. I'm here in New York, and we have our first game tonight with Mike Breen, Richard Jefferson, the production team. We were all in the hotel watching the game together, and we were all sort of raving about Ajay Mitchell. And Mike Breen made a comment like, "Hey, man, he's going to be really, really good." And I said, "I agree. I think this guy's headed for something like have a really good career. I don't know if it'll be in Oklahoma City. Like by the time." I'm seriously, that might be what it is. Like the sacrifices he's going to have to make to play on this team and the growth he can show over the next couple of years. I'm not on here, saying that he needs to get out of town. I'm not saying anything like that. What I'm saying is it's possible, right? That it might be an opportunity will come down the road where he could start for a team, because I think he's got the whole package. He's got great size. He can shoot it. He puts it down well. He's smart. They're very, very high on him. And hell, maybe he stays in Oklahoma City for a really long time. I don't know. But you give you credit, man. Credit where credit due. And I was thinking it while this dude was making shots. I'm going to hear about this tomorrow. I'm like, I know I'm going to hear about this one. But you know what? Here's the deal. The truth is this. You have your guys. I have my guy. But Adam, really, aren't they really our guys?
Because they're our guys, man.
Right? Aren't they our guys? Right. So when one of your guys does well, that's a win for the show, man. Because you had the forethought to pick them. Right.
There you go, man. I can't believe me.
Believe me. When it's one of my guys, I am definitely making sure that definition is clear. Okay.
There you go.
Your guy, it's our guy.
It's our guy. Yeah, exactly.
It's like that saying. It's like that saying. What's mine is mine. What's yours is ours.
Is ours. Hey, I just want to know, did you tell Breen, did you say, "Hey man, my colleague, I didn't even know about this guy. My colleague brought him up the other day and he's right, man." Did you at least tell Breen that?
We were discussing the All City podcast at the same time. So it's pretty cool. It was good stuff, man.
There you go, man.
And then I showed him the film of you lighting up that dude in that 3-on-3 game. And I said, on top of the knowledge, he can do this to guys.
There you go, man. That's so funny. Proud Papa over there. The other guy I want to shout out, man, is Chet Holmgren. His shooting, I thought, looked really good, especially early on. The Thunder kind of hit you in waves. But to me, we talked about this last year. Chet, his offense ability to create is one way they can level up. We didn't see it throughout the whole game. He had some clutch catch and shoot shots at the end, but he had some shot creation shots early on that I thought, man, that's if that's a consistent part of his game this year, it adds another layer to the Thunder.
Well, it was really impressive last night. Was you think about where would they be at the start of the game without what he did? Because Shea only took 5 shots in the first half. It was almost incredible. He was 2 for 5. And one of those was a layup right before the half ended. Again, how great is this guy? He basically is a non-factor offensively in the first half and still puts up 35 and makes all the big plays down the stretch. That's how great Shea is. But beginning of the game, it was Chet. I mean, Chet was the story offensively. No Jalen Williams. Shea kind of quiet. So where was it going to come from? Chet was incredible, and he kept it up. He was like early, and then it was later. And the middle part of the game could belong to other guys. Great night for him. I did have one slight criticism for Chet Holmgren. He took another really hard fall.
Oh.
And it was scary. And I'm not saying that it's always like up to you. Sometimes it's not up to you when you end up on your ass. But I worry about him. Because again, you remember the play? He drove, landed, kind of slid into the basket support. He started.
Oh yeah. Yep. Legs
like
up in the air.
His wrist. And I'm going, oh my gosh, because this was a guy who missed a lot of time going up, blocking shot, coming out on a guy, flips, lands on his back. He's out for a long period of time. His rookie year, missed all that time. it's just one of those guys that you just want him to stay on his feet because of how long he is, the way he's built. There's not a lot of meat there to absorb contact when he hits the ground. That's the only thing, my only criticism of him. He tried to make a play, ended up getting thrown to the ground hard and put his hands back behind him as he was falling and then grabbed his wrist. And immediately I'm thinking like, oh my gosh, because all I want is to see Chet Holmgren put in a full year and stay healthy.
He's got no padding on his body, and that's part of why, you almost worry when he takes those falls. But I don't think he can turn that dial down. And kudos to him for that. He plays so hard, and he's a competitor. And sometimes you're just in the moment. You're just trying to make plays. We got to take a break here, Legs, but we're going to continue this conversation on Houston OKC. We'll get to the Lakers and the Warriors on the other side as well. But I want to talk – we still have to get to Shai and Sengun, who both I thought were amazing and deserve a little bit.
And Reed Sheppard. And Reed Sheppard.
So we'll do that on the other side. But first, you guys all know that moment, the one where you realize you left your favorite sunglasses at the beach or on the roof of your car or at a gas station 3 states away. Well, I've been there too, and I can tell you about all the different times I've broken my sunglasses because I've sat on them or put them in my backpack and tossed my backpack, something like that. Well, right now, Shady Rays is the company you have to go check out because not only do they have an incredible selection of sunglasses, I wear aviators and navigators. I've got like 8 pairs of those, but they have every style, whatever your style is. They have men's and women's. They have one for you, hundreds to choose from. But the great thing is if you lose or break them, even if it's on the first day you got them, Shady Rays will send you a brand new pair. No guilt trip, just replacements. They'll look up your order and send you a replacement pair. So you can wear your sunglasses without fear on hikes, at concerts, on the boat, wherever. Shady Rays is eyewear that has your back. We've teamed up with Shady Rays to bring you an exclusive offer. Head to shadyrays.com and use the code AC35 for 35% off of polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. Also want to tell you about the presenting sponsor of this show. FanDuel's got an offer you don't want to miss this NFL season and this NBA season. New customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet. Bet $5, and if you win, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use all across the app. You can build parlays, bet player props, ride the live lines, whatever your style, FanDuel has you covered. Maybe you want to bet on the champion. Maybe something you saw last night told you, okay, Oklahoma City's going to win it again. Or Houston, once they kind of get gel together, we saw we need to see they're going to come out of the West. Whatever your bet is, you can hop on FanDuel and place it. The NFL season is here. The NBA season is here. The only question is, are you ready to play? Visit FanDuel.com/AllNBA to download the FanDuel app today and get started. Must be 21 or older and present in select states. For Kansas in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, or 18 plus and present in D.C. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit fanduel.com/RG. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York. All right, back here, segment 2 of the All-NBA Show, season 3 of the All-NBA Show. If you guys like the show, do us a huge favor. Make sure you hit the like button on every single episode. Make sure you're subscribed to this channel to help us grow the show and do great things with it. And share it on social media. If you like the show, help us grow it. Help us make this audience even bigger. We always appreciate that support online. All right, we got to talk about, real quick, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. You mentioned he got bottled up. I thought Amen Thompson did a phenomenal job on him. That Houston Rockets zone, I thought, really packed the paint and forced OKC into some, tricky decisions. But in the fourth quarter, some of the moves he had to get open and some of the shots he hit were just, unbelievable. And it made me wonder, honestly, down the stretch of this game, we kind of just think Shai was already, he's MVP, he's already good. But there are moments where you watch him score some of those tough shots and think, man, there is another level he can get to, and he might be tapping into it already. Are you muted? I think you might have muted yourself somehow. There you are. Now you're back. Okay. Now you're back. You're back.
Okay. What you take out of watching him play is virtually unguardable in any sort of one-on-one space, even with a tight window. And the guys can do a better job than others. But when you have the ability to change direction and stop as quickly as he does to get off the floor into his shot. And it's also a natural lean back. It creates space, especially going left, the way he can, he basically broad jumps sideways or backwards, 6-8 feet to get away from even guys that are longer than him, that are more athletic. So he can get the shot whenever he wants to get it. He's got the pump fake now that he's really utilizing a lot to get guys to bite on that step back pull-up jumper, because he knows it's so deadly. Guys are trying to time it. He got guys to bite on it repeatedly in the second half last night. So he's got that working. The guy's incredible. He's just a scoring machine. And when they have enough shooting around him on a given night, I'm not sure. You got to make some really difficult choices, even for a team that's going to be a top shelf defensive team like Houston. You've got really difficult choices to make, because even a team like that, your one-on-one individual defenders, it's not a win for you. Yeah. At any point against Shea. This is the personnel, this is the scheme. That's a win for us. That's where we want Shea. That's a win if we get him into these spots against these guys, this type of scheme. It's just not. And there's a handful of guys in the league that are like that. And Shea's one of them. And you saw it last night. And he got really focused. And adrenaline started kicking in when you saw the buckets being strung together late in that game. You just kind of knew ultimately what the result of those possessions was going to be.
Well, did you see on the broadcast, they showed that he was working out? I mean, I love these little anecdotes, but working out with no shoes and doing these crawls, just this real core strength thing, bear crawls. And just all summer he's been crawling with weighted vests. And, it's kind of silly, but then I was thinking about that type of exercise is full body exercise, a lot of core. And when you watch him play, he must have the strongest core in the NBA, because so much of his movements are full speed pivot. His pivot points are so sharp. He could turn on a dime, and that takes an unbelievable amount of core strength. And I really do think it's part of his secret weapon. It's why the start stop game is so hard with him, is because he can do it like a joystick. And you saw that obviously in that last play where he got Durant off balance. Durant, who was almost 7 feet tall, still has to cover so much ground on every pivot just to stay with him, and then bid on the fake. So he was really impressive in the clutch. Outside of, I have to note, he did miss 3 free throws in the clutch, which was, he did everything else, but he missed a couple of free throws, which was weird.
No doubt. I mean, that's the first question he got after the game was about the free throws. He kind of laughed it off, but all in all, with everything going on in the building that night, and even Durant being there, the irony of that, Durant's in the building, right? The emotion around winning a championship. Houston's a contender in the West. For them to, I think, not play their best offensively and still be able to walk out of there with a win, and a lot of the things that you saw last year start to surface in the second half. All in all, I think Daigneault will take it no matter how they got it. That's a really good win on opening night against the team that's feels like they've closed the gap with them to a certain extent. And once they're fully healthy, or whatever, they're not fully healthy because Van Vliet will miss the whole year. But if they decide to do anything personnel wise, if not figure out what they have and how they're going to play, they think they can continue to narrow the gap with them as the season goes on.
Let's talk about Sengun right now, because he was incredible last night. 39 points, 11 rebounds, 7 assists, 5 of 8 from 3, which was a career high. I don't know with the 3-point shooting, obviously one game is not going to tell me everything, but he shot it with confidence, and some of the threes he hit. I mean, one of the takeaways I had as I was watching this game was Houston actually as close as I think they would be in an average performance? There are things they could do better, but Sengun was a monster last night and making some really, really tough shots. I wondered, if I was trying to make a hot take about Houston, if Sengun or even Amen Thompson might be the guys who are more important to the team. You almost play through them more, and Kevin Durant's the release valve. At least last night, that's how it felt. Where Sengun, if you didn't know anything else, you'd say, yeah, that's their best player. That's the guy they brought the ball up the court, initiated the offense, and scored in bunches. I was very impressed with what he did last night, and it was a heck of a start to his season.
Well, I think there's a lot of truth in what you just said about importance factor, because I feel like I kind of know exactly what Kevin Durant's year is going to look like. He's going to average somewhere probably in the neighborhood of 25 points a game. He's going to shoot over 50% to do it, probably around 40% for the 3. He's going to take a lot of big shots for this team in the fourth quarter. You kind of know that. What you don't know about Sengun and Amen Thompson is how much better can they get offensively now? They're both young, so you expect them to get better, but how much from last year to this year? Sengun was incredible last night. He was incredible in every aspect, even some of his playmaking. And actually, it looked to me by the reaction of Kevin Durant a few times. Did you get this feeling too? I was watching the game and they showed Durant after something Sengun did, and like his look was almost like, damn, like this guy's a lot better than I even thought. And in a lot of ways, probably gives him great comfort knowing that, like, oh man, okay, this dude is like top shelf offensive player in this league. Thompson is still a little bit of a work in progress offensively, but will have great impact every night. And some nights he'll give you 20 plus. Defensive playmaking is already there. So I did feel like Sengun last night was almost like making a statement to
Yeah, it felt
Durant,
like it. Oh,
like to
interesting.
Durant,
Durant.
like more than anything. Like this is who I am. This is like what I'm capable of doing. Because my goodness, did he look comfortable offensively? More comfortable than anybody on the floor. He was incredible, and he had a great Euro basket. We know that. And look, we've talked about Sengun a lot on this show over the course of the summer. And I questioned, like, what ultimately is his ceiling? Is this a first team All NBA ceiling? Is this a second team All NBA type guy? Is this an MVP candidate one day? Like, what is he? And I still think we don't know. Honestly, man, I'm not going to put a total ceiling on the guy just yet, because what he did last night was incredible. It was really, really special. The versatility he had in his offensive game was unreal last night.
It really was, man. And I'm excited now, even more excited for the season he's going to have. I think it's an interesting point about making a point to KD, because the bringing the ball up is one of the things, you wonder about, is they
Yeah.
need somebody to bring it up. And he did a very good job of it. And against one of the tougher matchups he'll have, most of the time he's going to be matched up against the big. That'll be an even easier job. The last one here, you want to talk about Reed Sheppard. He struggled, I thought. This is a tough matchup for Reed Sheppard. I will say this. Oklahoma City, 4 teams played last night. 3 of them, to me, looked very athletic. These 2 in particular. And Reed Sheppard, I don't know if he's always going to look like this against everyone, or if OKC is that unique challenge that is just like, if you're not athletic enough and have a tight enough handle, they're going to expose that. But last night, that's what it felt like to me. The pressure, he couldn't get by guys to create the type of openings that Houston needed.
That is the point that I want to talk about right now. Two things with Reed Sheppard. Now, and look, I'm pulling for him, and I had a preseason game with him on last Thursday against Atlanta. Houston didn't play any of their top 6, 7 guys. Reed Sheppard did play that night, had like 31 points, and did some really nice things out there. And so you're kind of going, okay, you're a little bit hopeful. And I think the best part of his game right now is he's a pretty good, like, pull up 15, 18-foot jump shooter, because he's got great elevation on that shot, and he's more confident in that shot. He releases it at the right time. He knows his athletic ability at the end of that, getting off the floor. He can get that shot off even against bigger guys. But the other areas of his game, last night, it really jumped out to me a couple of things. One, what you just said, he had a really hard time. And look, I know this is the best defensive team in the league, more guys that do a good job on the ball defensively than anybody else. He still couldn't get by anybody. He can't get by anybody. And here's what I mean by that. When you're Reed Sheppard and you're like 6'3" or whatever they list him at, 6'4", I don't know exactly, but it's really important for a guard to be able to, whether it's through a ball screen or just being able to break a guy down off the dribble, to get past that guy, at least to the point where both of your shoulders are past the defender, because that is the only thing that's going to force a reaction by the next defender. And that creates passing lanes. That creates lob threat. That creates kick out threes, pocket passes. He couldn't do it. So as a result, they're not committing a second defender to him. So now everything becomes guys kind of on the catch, the next catch. There's a defender right in that guy's lap because nothing got collapsed. And it was like all night long. And I'm going, man, same what you just said. All right, I'm not going to judge the guy based on one game because it's OKC, but it stood out to me last night. He had the ball, 28 minutes, had the ball a lot when he was on the court.
Yep.
A lot. And look, Adam, he's fine bringing the ball up the floor. Like, he didn't. Cason Wallace picked him up three-quarter court a few times. It wasn't like he was on the verge of losing it. Yeah, you're not sitting there holding your breath like, oh my God, he's going to pick his pocket. He's good enough with the ball in that situation. And eventually, Cason Wallace started picking him up like inside half court. Like, okay, I'm not going to bother. This guy knows what he's doing. It was in the half court. He couldn't get the advantage. A step on a defender. That's everything to a guard his size. It's everything. because you can't at the end of the day just go over the top with his passes because he's not 6'8". So he couldn't do it. The other thing, he's got to make more open threes. He was 2 for 7 from the three. 3 or 4 of those are good looks. Like, and every time he missed a shot, I was kind of watching on TV. I wanted to see Ime Udoka, and I'm gonna give him credit. He never hung his head. He didn't look frustrated. He didn't look pissed and walk back toward the bench because he stands up there half court a lot on a missed shot. So I give him credit, and it sounds like they're gonna hang with him, man. They're gonna believe in him and try to instill confidence in him. But Adam, the 2 things he's got to do better. You got to be able to put one defender behind you at some point in the possession. And if you're not going to do that consistently, then you better be a guy that makes a high percentage of open threes. And he's not in either place right now. So let's see how that progresses. But he had a rough opening night.
He did have, I think the shot with you, I'm with you on it. A lot of them looked good. His shot looks beautiful. They were just a hair off. And if he makes a couple of those, maybe we feel differently. But the one thing you didn't mention there, because you focused on the offensive side, he's a defensive liability. They went after, every single guy went after him. When he was on the floor, it was almost like whoever he's guarding, they get the ball and they get to attack downhill, and he just couldn't contain him. And that, I think that part, I don't know how much he'll grow throughout his career, but right now he is going to be a mark defensively. So he has to be a value add on offense. And, it wasn't the case if he couldn't get that dribble penetration. All right, we got to move on, Legs. I love this game, was fun, so we gave it 42 minutes. This is what it's like on game night number 1 for us. We just want to talk. We could talk an hour on this one game. But there was another game that took place last night, and that was, of course, the Warriors and the Lakers. It wasn't as close. It was a little bit of a less entertaining game. And I'm just going to start by this. Were you more impressed with what Golden State did? Because I thought it was a pretty dominant performance. The Lakers kind of came back at the end to make it seem a little bit closer. Or were you more concerned with the Lakers and just how vulnerable they looked despite Luka's huge night?
Yeah, I mean, look, a little bit of both. I think let's start with the Warriors. As you know, we've talked about it. I'm really high on this team, and I've been all preseason. I think they've got, number one, a full year with Jimmy Butler. You saw the difference, from a metric standpoint. It's undeniable the impact he had on their team when he got there a year ago. They weren't healthy to close out their season. They beat Houston in 7, and then Curry goes down, and they struggled against Minnesota. You go out now, Jimmy Butler's healthy coming into the year. You've got a full year with him, not half a year. You add Al Horford, who even on nights when he is, even like last night, 5 points, 5 boards, 1 assist, like nothing crazy. It's not about that. It's about the guy's always in the right position defensively. He's a perfect facilitator offensively at that spot. It's a space component to what he does that allows some of their other actions to work and lead to great stuff. He's like the perfect pickup for this team. Kuminga played great last night. I thought he was the biggest difference in the game because he got them all the separation in the third quarter. That's when the game got away from the Lakers, and it was all Kuminga really during that stretch. So he played great after a weird summer with the contract and all that. A lot of really good signs for the Warriors, and you saw all of that last night. They're going to be absolutely entrenched in the mix all year long as they stay healthy. The downside for the Lakers, it was a little bit concerning. Like there was a flatness to them. There was a lack of defensive intensity to them. No, you don't have LeBron. That's a big deal. Guy sitting over there. We'll talk about that in a second too, because I was wondering what he was thinking. But to me, Adam, it's both. Warriors look great. Lakers, like flat defensively. Not a lot outside of Luka. Very Luka-centric offensively. I don't know if that's going to be something that's going to work real well for a team that's not a great defensive team. Waiting for LeBron to come back. So let's see if this is a rough start to the year for the Lakers, or it was just one of those nights. They played a really good team, and the Warriors just outplayed them, and the Lakers have a lot of work to do.
Well, I want to tie a couple of your points together because I think they connect. Mentioned Kuminga, who I thought had a really good night. What stood out to me about Kuminga was I thought he played good Warriors basketball, which to me is good team basketball last night. Sometimes I feel like he breaks the system because he doesn't read it well. I thought he read it well. And I saw an interview with him or with Jimmy Butler after the game where he just talks about, I'm taking him under my wing. I'm trying to show him the game. I'm trying to teach him the game, which is an interesting thing because Jimmy Butler understands how to play basketball. I mean, he understands how to read the court and move around. So maybe there's some hope for Kuminga to grow in that area. But I mentioned earlier in the show that there were 3 teams last night that I thought looked very athletic, and the Warriors look athletic in large part because of Jonathan Kuminga. The Lakers did not look athletic at all. And I think it's
Yeah.
part of why Kuminga dominated is he was so much more physically explosive than anybody the Lakers could put on him. And it just felt like a super athlete against a bunch of average athletes.
Yeah, I agreed with that. And Luka, I will say this: I thought Luka did look a
Yeah, he did.
little bit quicker. He looked a little bit quicker than he normally does. I mean, he looked last night physically the way that he would look probably by game 12 in Dallas. Because he was not a guy that came in looking like that out of the gate. He did look like leaner. He looked like he had a little bit more quickness on his change of direction, which I thought that was a problem for him last year. He had a harder time separating from guys or getting guys on his hip and keeping them there because that's a big part of his game. He's as wide as a refrigerator and he keeps guys on his hip because he is so strong. He had a hard time with that last year because he couldn't get the advantage because he was a little bit slower. He looked quicker last night. He looked good. I mean, he looked good physically. It's just that style of offense for that team when they are built that way defensively, without LeBron out there, that's just going to be, it's going to be, I think, a little bit of some rough nights for the Lakers here early in the year. I'm not going to put it all on Luka. The other component to this, I see a lot of people want to talk about Ayton, and Ayton was a big signing for them. You know, they didn't have, they eschewed bigs last year. JJ didn't seem like he wanted to play bigs. They get DeAndre Ayton, another offensive weapon. He's 16-10 for his career. Very talented offensive player. But here's the thing, Adam, I've noticed about Ayton over the course of his career. When you're engaging him offensively a lot, and it's like a frequent thing, and he's touching the ball a lot, whether it's the mid-range, post, or like the little pocket shots he likes to take from like 15 feet, when he does that, he's much more energized defensively. When he is not that engaged offensively, he tends to drift a little bit mentally, defensively, and he kind of lacks physicality. You saw a perfect example of that the years that they played Denver in the playoffs when Chris Paul was there and went down, and Jokic threw him around like a rag doll for an entire series because he wasn't really doing anything offensively. So my point is this: if you have him and you brought him in and he's going to play 34 minutes, he needs more than 7 shots because that's why he's on the court. And it will help his defense and it will help your physicality around the rim if he's engaged more offensively. And it looks to me like right now it's kind of like pick and then dive, get out of the way. What do I do here with Luka? Like, that's not what DeAndre Ayton is going to be good at. And he's going to lose his adrenaline offensively for you, and that's really going to affect the other end of the floor. So I'm curious to see the usage rate for him. If this is what it's going to be, most nights people are going to be disappointed in DeAndre Ayton if you're a Lakers fan, because he's not going to give you just all of that all out hustle defensively if he's not touching the ball. He's not built that way. So let's see. 7 shots in 34 minutes for him is not going to be enough.
He's built that way from a skill set standpoint, and then he could do that. He could do that. But what you're saying is it's a mentality. He doesn't.
Yes.
That's not the thing. Like some guys, and you think about Lively last year for Luka. That guy didn't need things. He would liked his role. He liked doing the things he did. But some guys don't necessarily like it, and I think that's maturity on Ayton's part, or immaturity, lack thereof. That maybe, he doesn't stay engaged if he's not fully involved in the ways he wants. And 100%. It's one of the reasons when people were telling me Ayton's a good player, like Lakers guy, I said, yeah, but I just don't count on him the way you guys are counting on him. I want to hammer this point home, Lakes, about the athleticism, because I've been thinking about it a lot as I've watched the preseason. If we rewind the last 15 years of the NBA, first was the evolution to small ball, 3-point revolution. And I think it's because bigs had not yet developed these guard skills. So it was, okay, the small guys can get the threes up and we can space the court and we're going to go really small. But over time, bigs developed perimeter skills, and you get your Jokic's and Giannis even, and some of these big guys. And it's like, okay, now it's better to be big and be able to do that than little and be able to do that. I think this final wave is not only is it good to be big and be able to do that, but big and athletic. And that's what you see in the Rockets when they have Amen Thompson at 6'7", 6'8", and he can do all these perimeter skills. Jabari, 6'10", can do all these skills. Sengun. Now you have big guys and you have athletic guys. And I just look at that and I say the teams that lack athleticism are almost behind the eight ball to the teams that have length, skill, and athleticism combined. And the Lakers are that. Luka's great. He can handle it. But a lot of their other guys can't. Rui can't. Gabe Vincent can't. Austin Reeves can to some degree. Jake LaRavia maybe. But they don't have the guys that can handle the length, athleticism on the perimeter that these teams seem to be developing.
Agreed. And that's why, for me, the Lakers are in a tough spot from this standpoint. And I talked to JJ about this in the preseason. One of the things they want to do to make up for some of that, because they don't want to slow push up the floor with like bigger, more methodical guys, like advancing the ball. They want the ball advanced through the air to get teams to retreat back defensively so they can get into some secondary offense pretty quickly, and it creates some separation for guys that aren't as athletic. I didn't see a lot of that last night. It was Luka dribbling the ball up the floor, crossing half court line with a live dribble. So I didn't see that plan that they want. And I don't know if that's just because Luka doesn't really necessarily want to play that way. They don't have guys out ahead of the ball running the lanes, because that's going to be an easy advance for Luka if he sees guys out there. If they're not out there, then he's not going to throw the ball. And now he's going to bring it up, and it's going to look a lot like the possessions in Dallas, with the difference being not that straight vertical threat and the shooting that he had around him in Dallas. They were 8 for 32 from the three. It's going to be a streaky topic for them all year. And they don't have the consistent threat at the rim on the dive that he had in Dallas. So they have to play a little bit faster with ball advancement and get some separation that way. They didn't do it last night. It's one game. You don't draw massive conclusions, and they did not have LeBron James. So, you're not going to go too far with this. But your point is taken. They looked slower last night than some of the teams we're going to be talking about a lot this year that are going to contend. Yeah. And the speed factor, up and down the floor, sideline to sideline. They did look slower last night than some of the teams we're going to be covering.
On the other side, we barely mentioned Jimmy Butler. I referenced him briefly earlier, but he had 31 points last night, thanks in large part to 16 of 16 foul shooting. His ability to get to the line is impressive, but what impressed me even more was his straight line driving. He had 17 drives last night. I think it was 1.2 points per direct off of those. He's up in age, and part of you wonders, you just think about these guys. When do they slow down? His ability to you were just talking about this with Reed Sheppard. Can you get around your guy, collapse the defense, and make plays? Jimmy Butler did that very easily, I thought, last night, and that's one of the main things he brings to this team. He either draws the foul or he collapses the defense and finds a guy. He did it effortlessly last night.
He did. He did it at will. And it's literally, if you look, it's even better. The pictures that you can get sometimes, you put like a drone over the court and you look straight down in the lane or in the half court set for Golden State to watch the way defenses were reacting to him last night and what that creates one or two passes later for somebody. It's all triggered by that. He was a force last night. He was getting matchups he liked. He was taking advantage of it. Very physical, drawing the contact, converting once he got there. But the other thing, because of it, the ball moves freer coming out of that collapse. They assisted on 80% of their field goals last night. 80%. That's ball movement. That's cutting. That's the willingness to do it. But it has to start with breaking the defense down. And Jimmy Butler did that more than any player on the court last night.
He was impressive. The Warriors were really impressive too. The game did not become quite as much of a blowout, and Luka did do whatever he wanted. 43 points, 12 rebounds, 9 assists. Pretty monster game from him. But the Warriors impressed me just because what it looks like when a Steph Curry team kind of has that connection and plays the way that they play that is so hard to guard, and they had it last night. So to me, I walked away from that very impressed with Golden State. It was a great night, man. Night number one. Let me ask you this last one. I didn't prep you for this. We saw the Michael Jordan segment on the broadcast last night, and it was brief, I think like 3 minutes. I personally just enjoy hearing MJ talk, and even his story. He basically told two stories. One was about how he doesn't play anymore, and he took one shot in the last, 10 years, and he felt pressured. And I loved it because I loved his reasoning about why this moment, this weird little moment he had felt so heavy to him. And then he talked about why he's doing this, which is, he feels like every player, you are a part of this, Legs, has this obligation to give back to the thing that made you who you are. And I just love that so much because I feel like we hear it so rarely from especially the more recent NBA guys.
I love this point, and I'm glad we're going to finish. I got one last point to make on the game after this, but first of all, I'm with you. If Michael Jordan's going to sit down and speak, I want to listen to it. Like, I don't care what he's going to talk about. Here's the other thing: people, I saw some people today, like, really wondering, man, like, what was that? He's talking about shooting a free throw at some rental house and like in front of some kids. Let me tell you something, Adam. This is the truth. Okay. And what I do for a living is like a lot of live TV, man. It's like, people think, God, how do you do that? It's stressful, whatever. I'm like, I don't actually even feel that. Like, I'm very relaxed in doing that. The most stress and anxiety I feel all year is when I do my shooting demonstration at my basketball camp.
I love it. I love this.
And the reason is because you have a standard for yourself. But the truth is, you're not doing it every day anymore. Like Michael Jordan said, he never touches a ball. When do I have time to go shoot a basketball in the course of the year? I don't really. And I got a almost 4-year-old son to boot, 2 other children. I'm a family man. I've got a lot of commitment from my job. So I don't have time to go shoot. I can't go play pickup anymore because my knees are just it's too painful for me. So what does that leave you to do? Well, here comes basketball camp. Let me try to get myself ready for a few days before I go in there. It's a week-long camp. And one of those days, I am going to get everybody assembled in that gym, 23 people of my staff, all of these kids. My name's on the shirt. And this dude won the three-point shootout, led the league in three-point shooting. And here he goes. It better go in at an incredibly high rate. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
But you're not doing it the rest of the year anymore. It's not just automatic. This is definitely going to happen because I'm doing this. Muscle memory is going to kick in. No, man, it's harder. So now I got to get warmed up a little bit more. Because the bottom line is you want to blow their minds. You want to be so impressive that they're like, oh my God, that's what an NBA player looks like. That puts that kind of time. And all you're talking about all week is repetition and work ethic and all these things. And then what? You're going to get up there and talk about shooting and shoot 40% on open shots with nobody guarding you? Like, you can't do it. It's got to be like 90% the ball's got to go in that situation. So I'm telling you, when he was telling that story, I was 100% feeling exactly what he was talking about, because you want that to be memorable for that kid because of who you are and the pride you have in what you were as a player. And I wasn't Michael Jordan. I'm not trying to say that, but I was a shooter and I do shooting demonstrations, and you want to make them all, right? And then the other thing was, him talking about paying it forward and just like why he's doing this now. And it's funny. He made a comment. He goes, not doing this for the money. I'm okay. I'm doing pretty well.
I'm doing okay. Yeah.
I'm okay.
Good to hear.
I'm doing it because it's an obligation. It's an obligation that I have because, and I've seen some excerpts of some of the interviews going forward that he's going to do with Mike, where he talks about everything is about how much he loves basketball and loves competing. And that drives him. It drove him as a player. It drives him now to do something like this. He feels an obligation to it because he loves this sport that much. And I thought it was really cool. And they're going to do a bunch of those throughout the season. Can't wait to see the next one.
Yeah, the same. I saw the same thing on the timeline. Some people like, I can't relate to this. And I just thought, I don't know how to explain. I related to it. I never was an NBA player, but even I related to the sentiment on both of those two things. And I thought, maybe if you either get it or you don't, but I got it. Did you want to make a quick final point on this Lakers Warriors team?
Yeah, the last thing I wanted to say was, and I want to know your impression. Am I reading too much into it? And I'm not like going off the rails here on a hot take or anything, but we will tell you, I was kind of noticing the complete lack of any sort of, visible, demonstrative body language at all out of LeBron. And look, I'm not saying you're over there rah rah rah, but look, there are a lot of guys in this league that are star players that, like, look at Jalen Williams last night in Oklahoma City. Like, there are a lot of guys that are not playing right now that are on the bench, and look, the level of involvement and engagement is going to be different from guy to guy. Everybody's different, and I'm not saying there isn't any one right way to do it, but I have to be honest with you. At some point, they showed him a few times on the bench, and he just looked so stoic and so serious and almost glum. And I'm going, man. And then I couldn't help it. My eyes kept diverting over there during the game. Like Luka would make a shot or somebody make a shot on their team, and I'd look over at the end of the bench, and like his arms never moved. And he just sat there so still, so still. And I'm not saying he wasn't interacting with his team during the huddles and timeouts. We don't know because we're going to commercial break. I don't know to that extent. But like the horn went off, he stood up and just turned and walked to the tunnel. Like he didn't like stick around, and maybe he'll do that in the locker room. So I don't know, and I'm not trying to make any definitive judgment, but I'm just saying, for whatever reason, last night
It was
he just
noteworthy. I mean,
he
yeah,
looked
it was
kind of ticked
noticeable.
off. Look, maybe he's just mad because he's hurt and he's not out there helping his team, and he doesn't want to start a year hurt because he's not used to that. I don't know what it was, but when they would show him on the bench, man, did he look really, really, really serious. Like he just didn't look like any part of that was like fun for him to last night. And I don't know what that was. Did you at all, did it cross your mind?
I mean, 100%, and I saw it also on the timeline as well, so I know it crossed a lot of people's mind. But to me, it is one of those things for file it away. I mean, could be something, could be nothing. We'll have to file it away. But it was, I think we always read LeBron. He has big facial expressions or lack thereof, and it was noteworthy how removed he felt in the shots we saw of him. Let's close out today's show. This is a great first show, Legs. Great first show
Yeah,
of
man.
season 1, man.
Even better tomorrow. Even better the next one, man. Get it. We're together again on
Nuggets Warriors. Nuggets
on
Warriors
Friday.
one of the games. Yeah.
Yeah, and I've got my first 2 games starting tonight in Madison Square Garden. Cavs, Knicks, the 2 front runners.
Well, to that point, real quick, Legs, let's go to our final segment here, our exit segment, which is our fan duels of the night, which is the games tonight. And yes, one of them is the game that you're calling. So you're in the Garden tonight. Man, they're making you travel early on here tonight. You've got Cavs Knicks.
Cavs Knicks tonight, 7:00 inside the NBA. By the way, our first look at, like, it's the same show, same studio for them, but it's going to say ESPN on the screen, and it's going to be leading to our game. So that's kind of cool. Ernie will be tossing us courtside. Mike Breen, myself, Richard Jefferson. I'm thrilled to be with this group. Lisa Salter sideline. I am so thrilled to be with this group. I'm excited about what we can become as a team. Starts tonight. And again, like I said, 2 front runners, I think right now, the 2 most known commodities in the Eastern Conference. Now they're missing some guys. Darius Garland, Max Strus won't be there for Cleveland. Josh Hart, Mitchell Robinson will not be playing for the Knicks. So they're not full strength, but it still should be an electric environment. The Knicks fan base and here in New York, they think, Adam, the drought can be broken this year. Like, this is their best shot.
Knicks fans believe in their team? No way.
They believe, man. We're going to see it tonight. And then, to your point, I travel right away tomorrow morning, and I'm going to be Thursday night, OKC at Indiana. So a rematch of the NBA Finals. So they got us going back-to-back Wednesday, Thursday night here to start the year because it's such a big week.
Well, we're always going to have super producer James pick a couple games. Cavs Knicks is number 1 on his board. He's got Sixers at Celtics as well. Boston's favored by 1.5 in that one. And then Spurs Mavericks tonight is also, I think, going to be a really good defensive battle. Mavs are favored by 2.5. Those are the ones. But almost everybody plays tonight. So whatever your team is, you're going to be dialed in. We got 2 super chats. Let's hit them before we get out of here, James. And I think they're from our guy, Psycho Blue. Psycho Blue, he sends us $5. He says, by the way, Adam, your boy Bill Simmons already ducking Matt being Matt Ishbia, couldn't even stand by his own website's takes, SMH. I got to be honest with you. I don't really know what this beef is about. I'm online, but I'm not online enough for this. I saw some kind of back and forth, but I just was one of those things I said, keep scrolling. So appreciate the super chat. I'm not dialed in there. What else do we got from Psycho Blue? He gives us a 20 piece. He says, B-Ball Cthulhu believes DeAndre, the apostate, is going to be a massive fan favorite for LA's media and fans. How can anyone not love his grit, hustle, and dominating of the paint? I have a feeling this is tongue-in-cheek here, Legs. Excited for Suns tonight with the right Brooks. Yeah, I think the LA media might not be a big fan of his grit.
If you don't know better, like, you would think that was like an honest take right there. We both know you're right. Tongue in cheek is putting it mildly. I don't know, man. Listen. People want to make a lot of really big conclusions after the first game or 2 of the year. Let's everything, including the broadcast teams, because it's all new. NBC had new crews last night. Amazon is going to have, the first time they're doing it, new crews. Yeah. And of course, we've got some shuffling around at our place as well. So let's just, everybody be patient. Everybody be patient. That's the theme I want to express here early in the season.
You can hit that outro music there, James. I'm only gonna make. Oh, we have another one. Happy Valley Farms. 81 games left for the champs to take everyone's best shot. Heavy is the head that wears the crown. All right, there you go. I think it is true that everybody's gonna give OKC their best shot, but you know what, man? OKC has a lot of guys that play really, really hard. So I think they're ready for it. I think they're going to have a pretty good year. I will say this. I'm going to make one proclamation about the season after one game. This show is going to be better than ever. I cannot wait for it. We're down to 2 times a week with me and Legs. It'll be mostly Mondays and Wednesdays. This week it's Wednesday and Friday, which means we are back on Friday breaking down. Everybody will have played by then. There'll be no shortage of storylines. This was great, Legs. It was great talking hoops with you again.
Can't wait, man. This is an awesome start to the season. And you know the deal. No place better, man, than to really dive into what's going on around this league on a night-to-night basis. So can't wait for another year with you.
This was a deep dive, man. Likewise. Everybody do us a favor. Make sure you're subscribed and hit that like button on the way out.
All silly like the mayor.